Hello, and welcome to QwertyCast, where we talk about indie games, PC games, and everything in between. I am your host, Andres, and I am joined today with Dave.
Hello.
Joe.
Hello.
And Steven.
Hey.
We are missing our main boy, Kenny, because somebody else is recording in his house today. So he's silently watching us from the ether. Wave hi, Kenny. That's beautiful.
Hi, Kenny.
Also, we started using webcams while recording so that we can see how our eyes twinkle when we talk about games that we love so much.
Except me.
It's beautiful.
But next
Except
time.
for Steve. Yeah, next time. And that is our intro, and that's our podcast. Goodbye.
All right, see ya. I'm going to get drunk now.
Good one.
Yeah, seriously.
I got to cure a hangover anyway.
So, ladies, ladies, and gentlemen, we have some big announcements in case you missed it. We are one episode away from our self-proclaimed ending of Season 1. As you can obviously tell from watching this episode, you're on 19, so we'll be ending with number 20. Nearly a year ago, on August 30th, 2019, QwertyCast came out with Episode 1 and our Discord, which premiered, with 4 hosts talking about games. And since then, we've slowly molded this into a sort of a variety hour of video game news, reviews, and gameplay for indie and PC gaming. We also have 6 hosts now, and 2 audio engineers, and a really lively Discord server that we love to death.
Yes, and.
Maybe we'll... You what?
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Maybe we'll do something special for the finale. I'm not sure yet. But we are definitely taking this break to work on ourselves because self-care is important. So hopefully we come back to all of you with a slick new coat of podcast polish. I'm so excited. This has been a great announcement for everyone to look forward to because in the meantime, between seasons, we have officially announced our second Super Smash Bros. Ultimate League. We're calling it QwertyCLASH.
Clash, 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 clash.
Fight, kiss.
So the QwertyCLASH is going to start in the 3rd week of September, and it's going to take place over several weeks. The matches are going to be 2v2 with rotating partners over several weeks. I already said that. It's going to be live streamed. We're going to have power ranking. We're going to have highlights and low-light video recaps. I don't know what else to get you hype about, that kind of thing. The last thing that I think is worth noting is that in other leagues that our competitors have been in, and those who have been editing and participating in the backgrounds of those leagues, they would make stat recap videos like we're going to do, but they broke it up with DIY commercials and cool short videos, so it's not just one big chunk of statistics at the end of the game. If you would like to advertise an indie video game, or you know someone who has an indie video game that you would think would be cool to advertise during our commercial breaks, please let us know. We would love to advertise you. I think there's a lot of really cool things to be excited about for this QwertyCast Smash League.
Definitely the part that I think I'm most excited about is just from a production quality standpoint, it seems like we've got a lot more people working on it and trying to get this nice and polished. And I'm super excited just for, the opportunity to watch the gameplay, but then also do like the statistical analysis. So I'll be working with a few people on that. But there's definitely a lot of moving parts, and it's just not your normal, jump in, play a couple rounds and jump out. This is going to be an ongoing and just constantly enjoyable experience.
Exactly. I'm so freaking hyped for this. We just have such a good team behind us. Like this podcast, over a year, I feel like we've built this server with like such really special, talented artists and designers and people who really know their way around technology. We're kind of like a beast, so I'm excited to see what else we come out with for Season 2 and everything going forward. Kenny says we built this server with rock and roll. Oh, that's
you gotta sing.
I know. I said
we built this server with rock and roll.
Fucking
fuck, Gary.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Please play that, and then we can get sued for copyright infringement.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can't believe it's like, what's up, dog? So the last thing I was going to say about that is that we have a sign up link in our Discord only. So you can find that by going to our Twitter at QwertyCast or our link tree at linktr.ee/QwertyCast. And you'll find our links to everything that you need. But the Discord server announcements will have the link to signing up for the Smash tournament. And that is that. So without further ado, I'm going to move it over to our big boy Steve, and he's going to talk about our indie news for the week.
Big boy. Yeah, so the news for this week, I've actually got two articles that I wanted to kind of go over. One of them's pretty big. The other one's more of a personal piece that's something I enjoy, but I'm sure you guys will get a kick out of. I'll start with the big news that came out this week. So Epic Games, owner of Fortnite, was actually banned from the Apple Play Store and the Google Play Store. I guess it would be the Apple App Store. The justification behind this was the fact that Epic Games was actually subverting the purchasing system that both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store had put in place, which usually will take anywhere between like 15 and 30% of the value of every sale directly into their pockets. What Epic Games was doing was they were offering the purchase of the in-game currencies and items through a secondary source so that you didn't have to go through Apple or Google directly, and therefore they were retaining a larger percentage of the actual profit. So Apple and Google, of course, were not fans of that, and so they immediately banned them. And as retaliation for that, Epic Games turned around and slapped a lawsuit on both of them, basically stating that the system that they have in place right now is unfair and is not designed to really give the benefit to the people who are actually creating the content. And so this becomes kind of like that controversial thing, and I'm curious what you guys think about this. But on the one hand, I do agree with Epic in the sense that I think the developers should be retaining a larger percentage of the profits. But on the other hand, they're taking advantage of a distribution system that has a huge market share. And so it's kind of like a toss-up as to who we think really should be getting the larger benefit. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I have a lot of thoughts on Apple's approach specifically to this, because I think it is a little bit like weirdly sided, right? They added it because they wanted to get on the train of like, oh, Fortnite's super popular, we need more people getting apps from us, and like, so we'll make money off of this being popular. And I don't know if maybe it's lost popularity in some way, but like there are other services, I believe xCloud, Stadia, and GeForce Now all have extreme limitations. I don't think any of them are available on the App Store, because of the fact that there's in-app purchases that resemble like an app store or something along those lines. But like they were totally fine greenlighting Fortnite, and now they're not fine with it, presumably because they're like, oh, we want more money from you, and it's just very extortion-y, in my opinion. Google doing it upsets me a little bit more because they seem to be a little bit more on board with just letting a lot of different apps fly. Also, they have like apps that are actual malware just on their Play Store, but that's fine as long as they can make some money off of it.
Yeah, it's interesting from a statistics standpoint. So you're right. Like usually Google has a little bit more leniency here. One of the things that I think that's really fascinating is, so like with Apple specifically, over the course of 5 months from the initial launch of Fortnite on the App Store, they were able to get about 100 million downloads of the game. And over the course of the 2 years up to the ban, Epic Games was actually generating about $1 billion of profit through the mobile app itself directly. God. So there's definitely a lot of money at play. Something that's kind of unfortunate for Apple users is just purely because of the way that Apple's designed their store and their phones to be very proprietary. There is absolutely no way for you to play Fortnite without actually breaking the OS. Whereas with Google, because of the sideload functionality, and Epic is very aware of this, they've basically, you can still play Fortnite, you just can't do it through the Google Play Store. So Epic has actually set up their own launcher, and they are actually advertising that you download it through the Samsung app launcher as well, as ways of actually getting it to still play on your Android device without actually having to go directly through the Google Store. And something they kind of did is like a little elbow into this whole, problem in the first place is I think right now there's actually a 20% discount on all in-game purchases through those two methods, just as a kind of screw you Google and Apple kind of thing. They had released this really awesome video. You guys can take a look at it on YouTube, where they kind of like spoofed the 1984 with just all the people being brainwashed. But instead of like the dictator in the video, it's like an apple symbol with like part of the head chewed off, just like how Apple's got like a bite taken out of it. And he's like yelling and slamming his fists. And then a Fortnite player comes in and kind of destroys the screen and kind of frees everybody from the brainwashing. It's definitely, heated contention. And I see both sides because I like to understand where everybody's coming from, but we like supporting developers, especially with us being so indie game driven originally, and then still trying to support that as we go with this podcast. So I totally understand Epic's why am I giving you guys so much money when we made this in the first place, or we own this content. So it's tough. We'll see how it develops. I'm sure there will be updates as the weeks go on. This will probably move really fast just because of the amount of money that we're talking about. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm guessing it'll be settled outside of court by the end of it.
Yeah, I would probably say it's a good safe bet. I'm imagining people will be able to access it relatively quickly. Hopefully this doesn't drag out, because there are a lot of players. Who knows how many of them are like people who downloaded it for mobile but also play it through a different platform. But still, to talk about 100 million potential users and all of a sudden they're just cut off from it entirely,
Right.
That's got to be jarring for the community. So hopefully they solve that pretty quickly. Did anybody have any other comments they wanted to say about it?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
But okay, either of you guys can go first.
You can go.
I mean, I was just gonna say that the 1984 bit was probably my favorite part. It's just like so funny that they really had that finally thrown back at them. That they initially made that video to be like, Apple is this underdog like that you should care about, and how many years later? It's like 20 plus years later, and we've finally thrown it back with like, no, you're the dictator now. I mean, but the thing about Epic and this whole like controversy is that they can only do this because they can afford to, like Fortnite blew up so hard, and Epic actually has the money to fight Apple and Google in a way that most other game companies, like most game companies that you would consider indie, could never afford to do. So it is interesting how we recognize this developer and Epic as like this kind of trailblazing for indie games and developers and whatnot, and they can actually sue Apple because of how well Fortnite has been doing.
Yeah, I'd be curious at some point in the future. We should really do a financial deep dive, because with everything that Epic's done over the course of the last, over the course of the last 2 years, they definitely feel like they're burning cash, but they must also be having huge revenues at the same time in order to offset that. So
Microtransactions.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how their financial model progresses. But yeah,
is Epic a public company? Can people buy stock in it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't know.
No?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can get an answer for that later.
Yeah.
So my two things kind of are like, what Apple's doing is just very much strong arming in a way that is just so reminiscent of a monopoly. And like, okay, yeah, you can get an Android phone, but look realistically at the market share of phones, and like basically all cell phones now are smartphones, and most of them are Apple phones. So like to ban apps because they have a way of making money that doesn't give you just another shitload of cash coming in, kind of to me reeks of that strong arming, like Rockefeller kind of way of doing business. Well, I've got all the money, so and like I've got control of this industry, so you have to do things my way or we're not going to play with you. And it's nice that Epic has the money to do that. But the more significant thing is this is an issue that's gone back and forth in the music industry for a long time, with a completely different scenario of sampling and what counts as using too much of a track. But that can be tied to the same way here, where a lot of people have always been afraid of like actually pursuing that legally, because if Epic loses, this is a huge deal. That means that xCloud and Stadia and GeForce Now and all those services, they lose. They cannot fight Apple separately because Epic's going to set the precedent. But if Epic wins, that's phenomenal for
Yeah.
those cloud gaming services, because then they win. They will be able to get onto Apple's service, and they'll be able to circumvent this ridiculous, again, what I consider almost a monopoly in the market.
And I think this is where Epic is going to see a little bit more of the swing in this, because of the fact that we all know that the demographics for Fortnite in particular tend to, be on the younger side. So I think the majority of their players are between ages 10 and 25. So the reason why this is such a big problem for companies like Apple and Google is they are constantly aware that the next generation is who they need to be advertising to in order to guarantee their profits in the future. And when you've got games like Fortnite that are so heavily popular, when you do something like this that affects that demographic in a negative way, you're going to see repercussions. And so that's why I imagine this will probably get resolved quickly and in Epic's favor.
Yeah, and I hope it gets resolved in Epic's favor, because again, I think that it's almost unfair to like I use GeForce Now constantly on my phone. That's pretty much the only way that I play games throughout the week, because getting into my room, which I share an office with Shona, who's working during the week, getting into my bedroom is like pretty hard to do. So I play mobily, but I stream PC games onto my phone, or Xbox games onto my phone. And thankfully I've got an Android, but if I didn't, I wouldn't have any of those options. I'd be kind of limited to whatever games I wanted to purchase on the Switch, rather than playing games that I already either pay a subscription for or own on Steam outright that I just want to play on a slightly different platform.
Yeah.
I will also say that apparently Congress very recently grilled Apple and Google, along with Amazon and Facebook, over monopoly power and
Makes sense.
what's the word? I'm losing my words here, but basically doing that, being a freaking monopoly. And I had seen that in the Forbes article that talked about the Epic lawsuit, because they said within weeks of testifying before Congress over allegations of wielding monopoly power to squash competition from developers, this happened.
What I think what's going to happen is one of the two, they're going to buy Epic.
They're what?
That one of either Apple or Google, they're going to buy Epic.
Oh God, you're so right.
It's going to be as simple as that.
That'd be interesting.
They're both endless, like the endless wallet that they have. They'd be like, all right, screw it, you're ours now. That's what I think is going to happen. Because to me, that seems more viable than fighting the lawsuit, because one, the lawsuit's null and void at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Two, they can adjust that price to what Epic is. And like that to me sounds like more likely to happen. One of the two, I'm guessing it's going to be Google above Apple, because Apple isn't known to buy companies out, because they already make, at this point, too much money a year.
Yeah.
And back to y'all asking if Epic was public or not. They are not.
Yeah, so actually I did a little bit into that as well. So you're correct, they're not. But one of the things that is interesting is because of the contracts that they have with other companies, so companies like Funko, they do actually see a little bit of a profit based on the stocks through selling merchandising opportunities. So they are completely private. You can't invest directly in them, but they do actually have like on the side contracts that you can essentially see changes in the stocks due to their activity directly.
So Apple's going to buy Funko. Google's going to buy Epic, and then one of those two is going to buy each other out.
There you go. We need to put this in a new segment of the QWERTY predictions, and then we can always like reference back to them when something actually happens and then cheer.
I like that. I like that idea.
I would like that as part of news to start having like a QWERTY prediction, like what do you think is going to happen with this story, and we'll check back in 2 episodes.
We have to add alliteration to it, though, so think of a different word for predictions.
There you go. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Our host QWERTictions.
Oh my God.
Ugh. For some reason,
anyway,
that word doesn't sit well.
I have to go to the bathroom. That didn't sit well.
But that's definitely the big heated gaming news this week, and I will be sure to try and keep the updates on that. Maybe we'll reach out through Twitter if something like really crazy happens, and make sure everybody stays informed on that.
Yeah, if you have a QWERTiction, tweet at us at QWERTY_cast or email us at QwertyCastmail@gmail.com.
There you go. We'll see who's right.
I also wanted to correct myself really quick. So the other problem with the streaming services, GeForce Now, etc., is not just the fact that there are in-app purchases that are not controlled by the App Store, even though GeForce Now doesn't, Stadia and xCloud do. The other issue is that technically speaking, you're using hardware that you don't own, and that's Apple's other like little disclaimer to beat cloud streaming is, anything on the App Store where you're using hardware that's not your own to access it is not allowed. So that's the other big hurdle. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's
Unrelated to
definitely a
Apple.
lot of and I think that just in general, these types of conversations, there's a lot of variables. So it's we'll try and stay informed and see what happens. But I'm curious to see if Google does end up buying Epic. That's a strong prediction.
That's what I would see happening out of it is Google buying Epic. But my biggest fear of that is then Google uses that ownership of Epic to push more of their games out on Stadia exclusive first. And then my other concern with that is that a lot of things that Google buys just break and go away forever. So
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's my last prediction. This won't happen, but God forbid, this will be the funniest thing if it does. Disney buys Epic. Both of them, Google and Apple, are suing Disney. Disney buys both of them. Congrats, you have monopolized the planet.
And now we have
That's
Fortnite
it!
Disney princesses.
Oh my
Insert
fucking God.
Disney TM owned by QwertyCast because we will
All
buy
right.
Disney
If
eventually.
either one of my predictions come true, I don't know what the fuck I'll do, but I'll do something out like absolutely absurd on podcast. I don't know what yet, but I'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll hold you to it.
And yeah.
So
All
that's
right.
the big Epic Games news. And then on a more personal note, but may affect some of you, if you remember back, I don't remember the specific episode, but I think it was about 4 months ago, I had been talking about a game called Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, which is both developed and published by Tailworlds Entertainment, so it is an indie game. Was super excited because they were finally going to release on Steam. I have been playing it consistently. It is fantastic. They've been updating it like every other day, just trying to balance things out, open up new opportunities. It's basically, if you're not familiar, it's kind of like a sandbox medieval military simulator, but it has both kind of the politics, economics on like this top-down worldview. But then if you actually get into conflict and there's battle that needs to take place, you then go into like a first-person perspective, and you can use, you can ride on a horse and use javelins, or you can shoot people with bow and arrows, or you can hit them with swords and have shields. It's fantastic. And they've been doing a really good job of maintaining community involvement. And one of the things is that they've always had mods available to the community. So anybody who had developed a mod specifically for it, you can actually load it directly into their launcher. However, previously, all of the mods that had been developed were being developed with personalized modding tools based on the specific mod developers. Now, and the big news is that Tailworlds Entertainment is releasing the developer mod tools directly to the community. So now there's going to be a centralized source of the modding tools, which will give you access to the entirety of the game. So we're going to see a huge explosion, I predict, over the course of the next month or two in mods available for this game. And if anybody played the original games,
I did.
the mods for those games were crazy. There was stuff like people had introduced like fully automatic guns into the game. There was insane things like, and even on just like a configuration level, people had developed mods that allowed for a larger body count so that you could have battles with upwards of 1,000 players as long as your PC was capable of handling that. So I'm really excited to see what the community comes out with, and just because of the fact that Tailworlds is so engaged with them, I'm expecting some really crazy awesome stuff.
One game that should do that already, Fall Guys. They should pump out their developer tool. Say, hey, make maps. That's it. That is how you keep this game going. Because they plan on, to what I read, they're going to have a map rotation come out. And just like, all right, in X amount of weeks or a month, here's these next maps. But, pushing out a developer tool saying, hey, this is what we use. Please make stuff for this game. We'll keep that game going for longer.
Yeah, I think in general, any video game really should just open up that opportunity. But yeah, Fall Guys in particular is something that a few of us have been playing since its release about a week ago, and we've just been having so much fun with it. So I think that would be a fantastic model for that game as well, just to allow the users to actually jump in.
I love modding communities. I have not played Mount and Blade, correct? 2.
Yes, Mountain Blade. Yep.
So I haven't played it yet. I didn't play the original, but I love modding communities, so I might check this game out. It sounds really interesting from what you described.
Yeah, if anybody's familiar, I'll just name drop real quick. Nexus is like one of the biggest sites for the collection of different mods for different games. And they actually, I think they have their own like launcher now. I forget if it's called Vortex or something else, but it like searches your computer, finds games that are compatible, and then allows you to actually automatically throw mods in. I don't believe that's set up for Mountain Blade 2 yet, but I know that it was available for Mountain Blade 1 and probably still is. So I would imagine at some point that will be hooked up as well. So if you're not as savvy or you just don't feel like screwing around with a lot of the different configuration files, there will be tools designed for this game that'll make it a lot easier, and I'm sure that community will pick this game up as well. Nice. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for the indie game news and just game news in general for this week.
Thank you, Steve. I actually kind of really look forward to trying out Mountain Blade 2 now. I remember you talking about it and just being super intrigued by how you could go from the top-down view to the, what would you say, first-person, third-person view?
Yeah, it's first-person. Well, actually, I think you can do both. But is it third? It's third. Sorry. Yeah. It's third-person default. But yeah, and there is multiplayer. Just kind of throwing that in there.
We really are living in the simulation. I'm going to get immersed.
So we'll be streaming it.
Speaking of full immersion, I know that Dave loved his game from this week. Or maybe he didn't. I don't know. You have an opinion on that, don't you? Well, I guess we should just throw you into your indie saves segment.
I'm jamming out to this for a second.
Right.
Because I love this music.
It's my favorite music. Except for everyone else's. I love your music too.
Sure.
Okay. I'm gonna sit up and get ready. So the game for indie saves this, I guess, 2 weeks, was Barony, which is by Turning Wheel LLC. It was first released in 2015, April 4th through Humble, and then very shortly after, June 23rd through Steam. Since then, there have been a couple of different versions of the game released. I think the most recent one was released in 2018 with just like some expanded content. I don't have the highlights of what was added with those, but we could pull them up at some other time. Right now, I believe July 30th of 2020, they launched their Kickstarter to bring this game to Nintendo Switch. At the time of recording, there were 17 days left for them to hit their goal of 35,000, and then they had stretch goals past that. I believe currently they're hovering somewhere in the mid 10,000 area.
Mm-hmm. Is Kickstarter or Indiegogo or what?
Kickstarter.
Okay, so they won't get any of that money if they're not funded.
Yeah, which is not great, because that means that maybe they just won't end up doing the Nintendo Switch one. Mm-hmm. And I'm always a fan of indie games going on to Nintendo Switch. But let's talk about Barony and not this company. Barony is a roguelike first-person dungeon crawler with a voxel art style, so think Minecraft, and is co-op heavy, but I would argue almost co-op necessary. Co-op friendly, but I would argue almost co-op necessary, because at first glance, it seems like it's just going to be a pretty simple dungeon crawler experience. But they recently, I don't know how recently, added a tutorial mode to it. There's 10 different tutorials. Supposedly they're meant to kind of be a challenge for normal players just starting out, and for advanced players who have played the game multiple times. I wish I had known that before doing the tutorials, and I probably wouldn't have spent a few hours playing them.
Fair.
The combat was pretty smooth. There was no major issues with it. You have the ability to command NPCs. You can craft potions. You can make tools, traps. You can repair equipment, identify equipment. There's so many different mechanics to this. But it all ultimately comes to an end when you die. There's permadeath because it's a roguelike. And then you just start right back at the beginning. There are multiple classes that are unlocked through different challenges. I did not get to unlock any because I kind of failed a lot. I died very, very regularly. And I didn't really get to play the main game that much because, as I mentioned, I spent way too much time playing tutorials that I didn't know were, I knew were optional kind of, but I wanted to understand the game before I started playing it. Once I felt like I got the game, I just jumped in, partially for the sake of time. But I loved the voice that they had. Like there was just this kind of like old school, like kind of demonic, bit crushed voice that's like, oh, we've got another challenger or whatever it said. But once I got into the door, it was like 3 times in a row, I think, where I basically at most made a few turns and then immediately got ambushed by 3 or 4 enemies and got killed. And it didn't matter if I was walking slowly, it didn't matter if I was running through it. I would just turn around or not turn around, and all of a sudden I'd be getting attacked, and in 3 hits I'd be dead. So that made
Sounds like they needed some balancing.
Yeah, it just made for it to not be very fun. From the first person perspective, it just makes it hard for you to watch your back if you don't go down every single door. But in a square map, eventually some of those doors connect to each other. So maybe you go through a door and then somehow you've accidentally found yourself across the floor, and you've got to like backtrack and hope that there's no enemies following you from any of those previous doors that you may have skipped or whatever. Otherwise, you just go in circles over and over. Once you get to the second level, it introduces like this floor boss to kind of push you through called the Minotaur. I assume I ran away from it when I encountered it, so I was able to
Understandable.
escape. But I assume it's probably like one of those, oh, you just took too long. This thing is going to instant kill you if you're not strong enough. I don't know, because again, I ran like a baby.
Okay. So it's kind of like the rising water mechanic where it's like you got to keep moving, otherwise you're going to get trapped.
Yeah. Or like any number of games. I mean, think of like Left 4 Dead, right? If you just dicked around for too long, eventually it'd be like, all right, we're releasing another horde on you because like you just need to move on. There's nothing else to do here.
Interesting. Okay. So it kind of keeps pushing you along, so you're not just like.
Yeah.
And do you think, are there like enough secrets that you think it would actually keep people wanting to stay on each level, or like it's
like
just
the
more about the
floors-
combat?
The floors are like pretty large. I mean, it took me a while. Once I was finally able to get a playthrough where I didn't die instantly, it took me a while just to get through the first floor. And by the time I got to the second floor, I only explored half of it before the Minotaur came. That was partially because I was trying to be stealthy and not immediately die from another enemy, but also partially because the ability to like analyze your inventory, there's no pause. Like you pick up items that are unidentified, you've got to spend time identifying them, and you can move around while you're doing that. But if like you pick up you have no armor basically to start. I think you have like a leather chest piece. So if you pick up like a helmet and it's unidentified, I think you might be able to equip it without identifying it. But if it's cursed, well, then you're stuck with that. And if it's cursed and it leaves a negative effect, then you're stuck with it until you can remove a curse.
Right.
So it's worth identifying it, but it's not worth standing still, because then a Minotaur will come and kill you. So, I had a few issues with it. As I mentioned, I was like constantly flanked. I felt like potions were hard to come by. Not that it really mattered, because I didn't have the stuff to craft them, and like I didn't have the patience or the time to craft them. You're crafting potions, but you're on a time limit per floor. So when do you find the time to do that? Maybe I just didn't look hard enough for descriptions of items, but there are some items where I was like, oh, this is the amulet of teleportation. So I was like, oh, maybe I get a teleportation skill with this amulet. No, it just randomly teleports you. Like, you're just walking and you just randomly teleport. And that's fine, but if there was a description that's like, hey, by wearing this, you randomly teleport to different parts on the map, then I probably would have been less frustrated by it when I just teleported 5 times in a row for no reason. Or what I thought was no reason at the time.
Do you think this game is going to port to the Switch well? Like, could you imagine this playing better on a handheld like that?
They have gamepad support, so I think that it could easily port to the Switch. But I don't think that, like, I didn't try it with a gamepad. I wanted to, but again, sake of time and just ease of use for me, mouse and keyboard was just much better. My my one playthrough where I didn't die immediately, I was able to find some NPCs to recruit. I even got to a shop to like trade stuff, but the item traders only trade certain things, so they won't buy stuff from you if they don't care about it, and they like and they only have what they have to sell. So if it's nothing that you need, like there's one that would buy gems from me, but the trader that buys gems also only sells gems, and gems are early game at least only used for trading. I don't know if they have another use later on. I don't know if there's things with sockets or some way to like make those gems do some magical property, but it was like great, so I could sell these, which is nice because I'll have some gold, but I can't use my gold to buy anything because the only trader is selling gems. Sorry, I was going to say really quick, like my favorite experience was probably with the NPCs. I had the amulet of teleportation on, so I just kept abandoning them by accident, and eventually they'd show up next to me, but two of them died trying to get to me. One of them died by getting crushed by a boulder where they stepped on a trap, and the other one died just by fighting a monster. My third NPC was a strong soldier and fought very valiantly against a succubus that I accidentally summoned by activating a fountain. And he killed the succubus, which was awesome. But then I walked over to him.
Red coats.
Yeah, well, I walked up to this dude and I right-clicked on him, which is supposed to like get him to start following you again. And it just had a little text prompt on the bottom that was like, "I'm sorry, I serve another." And he started attacking me. So then I had to kill him.
Oh, jeez.
And I took all of his equipment, and he had great equipment.
I'm sorry, I serve another.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, the succubus charmed him, but he slayed the succubus. So it like worked out, but then he almost killed me.
So who does he serve then?
I don't know. Himself, I guess. He became self-aware.
He
was like, oh my god, I can think, I can breathe. And you're like, no, that doesn't work for me.
No, well, he started attacking me, man. You know, it's just like Andres,
revolution.
Yeah.
just like those guys that were following us in the D&D campaign. I tried to be friendly, and they started attacking me. So what am I going to do? Just let it kill me?
What? I'm just going to let you stab me while you explain you're friendly? No.
Right.
You're going to die a horrible, horrible death with all of the power that we can have at level 2.
Right. Which for me is just slicing a sword once and cutting them down immediately. Which, come to think of it, I probably should have just aimed for specific body parts to like maim them, or done any of the other things that I could have done that were peaceful. Anyway, getting off track. The game, I think, once I ignored the stuff I didn't care about, became a little bit more fun for me. But there's so many different things to do that it almost seems like you have to have multiple people. Like if I was exploring a dungeon and there's someone walking behind me and they're like, "Hey, dude, there's people right here," then I could turn around and help them fight. Or maybe like I don't like using potions, but someone else does. So then you've got someone who's concentrating on making potions all the time, or someone's concentrating on being the magic guy. So like that seems like it would be super fun if you have friends to play with, but I don't have any friends.
No. At least none that caught the notification early enough.
Yeah, that's true. So disclosure on this, the game is no longer free. It was free on Epic Games when I picked it up. But now it is $15, which isn't bad. It's just
$15
not free. Yeah.
Or at least $2 to hear Dave holler a lot about this game.
Yeah, that's true. I do like to yell.
If you have this game and want to be Dave's friend, he's clearly got time and an open slot. And
hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of open slots.
There you go.
Yeah,
you're such an open slot.
You open slot.
You open.
It sounds like, based on your description, it's got a lot of versatility, but it just requires a little bit of a time sink, and maybe that's like we said earlier, maybe that's a balancing kind of thing. You had mentioned that there was like a Kickstarter. Is that still ongoing?
Yeah, it's ongoing for 17 more days as of recording.
So maybe with the influx of cash, maybe we'll see some, advancements or changes. Maybe they'll listen to the community. I'm sure a lot of people probably were having the similar complaints to what you're talking about.
Yeah, maybe.
Cool.
I mean, it seemed like they were interested in reworking some stuff and using some of the stretch goal money for those specific things. But they definitely seem to be listening to their community, from what I could tell. I didn't follow it too heavily, but they're still active. Andres checked. They have a Reddit that's very active.
Subreddit r/Barony game.
Yeah.
Don't go to r/Barony because there's nothing there.
We should take it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Overall, I'd say this was like a subpar solo experience for me. I don't think I would recommend it if you don't have anyone to play with, but if you're into like survival games, because I forgot to mention, you also have to eat food every now and then or you'll get hurt from hunger. So if you're like into survival games or roguelikes or dungeon crawlers or a combination of all of those that have crafting elements and all this other stuff, then it might be good if you've got 3 friends to play it with. But if you don't have enough people interested in playing, I would definitely recommend just skipping it and going for a game that caters a little bit more to a solo experience. There's no shortage of, I think, like uniquely mechanicked dungeon crawlers these days.
True.
So this one just didn't really stand out to me because it kind of did too much, which would be a strength for multiple people to play, but as like a solo game, I felt like kind of a weakness because it made it like it almost clouded what the game was actually about for me.
Calling all QWERTY barons and baronesses.
Yes.
let's get a squad rolling up.
Honestly, though, there are so many games that we need squads for. It's just
Yeah.
But then again, that's the good part about this Discord. Well, speaking of games that definitely take more than one person to play, WoW. What is it? Where can you play it? Who can you play it with? The answer is Joe and Roland and all of the places that he streams. Hi. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you were going to talk about with WoW?
All right,
and what you know.
Fucking what I know about WoW, way too goddamn much. Help me, please. Like, oh god, and there's useless information up here. But anywho, that's not what I'm really here to talk about all of WoW. I'm here to talk about something that we've been waiting for 4 or 5 months, something like that. Pre-patch. So with WoW expansions and their release, they'll do a pre-patch first, then usually about a month after the actual expansion itself come out. And the next expansion is called Shadowlands. So the pre-patch just hit the PTR, public test realm, the private area, whatever you want to call it. Most games usually have their own, some don't, like Fortnite doesn't, which is weird to me, but whatever. So that just hit the PTR. Alright, sure, hype, a lot of hype around that, especially for people like me that have been playing this game since the dawn of damn time at this point. Every time there's been a pre-patch that hits PTR, it's normally flushed. There's a lot of stuff to it. You have a lot of stuff to actually do. And this PTR pre-patch was kind of shit.
Okay.
Actually, no, it wasn't kind of shit. It was really shit. Normally, a PTR pre-patch, or just a pre-patch in general, you have a few days worth of actual fresh, new content. I got through it in 3 hours. I was going to stream it. I'm like, all right, sweet. I was going to stream it right after this. Like, all right, sweet. PTR, pre-patch. I have shit to do for a while. I did it today in 3 hours. Technically last night, but it was 4 in the morning. But whatever. We don't talk about that. It's like the big things that they brought were character customizations because there haven't been any added for the current races. And I want to say 10 years. It's been forever. Excluding model updates, which have come, there hasn't been a lot of actual visual updates, and that's finally a thing, but that's also kind of fucking lacking. It's terrifying on how little that they put. They focused more on older models, humans, not elves, fucking trolls, a lot into trolls, which was very surprising. Orcs got a few extra things. That's pretty much it. So all the other races after that, they got like 2 or 3 different things, and that's it. I'm like, please, I'm playing a fucking elf. I don't want a fucking ponytail the size of Neptune.
I do.
Like, let me shave my head completely bald, please.
As elves are wont to do.
Yeah, trust me, I fucking hate it. It's either that, it's either a long ass ponytail or what looks like if someone with the world's shakiest hands try to give a short haircut, it just goes different directions. It's fucking ugly, and it's ewy.
Got to embrace the 2020, race-based stereotype decisions with character customizations. Let's open it up for everyone.
Exactly. Like, that's what I want. Like,
if you want your elf to have giant incisors like a orc, go for it.
Exactly. Like, give us customization. Why the hell does RuneScape have more customizations than WoW? Let that sink in. RuneScape, a game made by Jagex, I think 20-ish years ago, has more customization options than World of Warcraft, one of the most, if not the most successful MMORPG to ever exist.
Well, are you talking about like the newer RuneScape that looks like 3D?
No, old school
RuneScape.
Old school.
Holy shit.
New RuneScape, we don't talk about that here. That's some bullshit.
Old school RuneScape, by the way, playable on phones. For those who don't know. So
yeah.
That isn't until they sue Apple and Google.
It's just as chunky as you remember it.
It is.
You have to just sit there and tap your phone screen 1,000 times to go 3 feet. It's great.
Shona plays it every day.
I do too. I literally will have WoW here on my middle monitor, and then on my phone, on my charger, is just RuneScape. I'm like, all right, I'm sitting here doing nothing. I'm playing RuneScape on my phone. Although I can put RuneScape on another monitor and play it there. Jesus Christ.
That's nope, wrong.
Yep.
Gotta do it.
Maximum heresy. But after you got through all, well, yeah. After I got through all that, this is the first time a level squish is happening. Currently, the max level in WoW is 120. They're bumping us. Well, they're pushing us all the way back down to 50, and then at the end of the expansion, we should be 60. I don't actually.
Oh, that's
remember.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's to save the number essentially, because going from I'm going from 120 to 130. Woo! But I don't know. I like the idea. The squish currently on the PTR is actually very good. They did a really good job balancing that out. The only other squish that happened was an item level squish, because if 4 expansions ago, whenever, Miss Pandaria, that's when they finally realized that, holy shit, I'm doing 250,000 damage where I shouldn't be able to hit this number within 10 years.
So are we going back to like Burning Crusade like statistics as far as like the scaling of the numbers?
Kata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so actual good numbers and reliable numbers for once.
Interesting.
So that's a thing. I fucked around on a few different classes just to kind of see what it compares to. Some of the classes that I have, like my Fire Mage, my Holy Paladin, and my Brewmaster Monk, where I just get drunk all damn day and nothing can kill me, which is great.
Yeah.
And, just kind of compared from what it is live to what it is now, how it really feels. Feels still kind of weird, but, this is still the public test area, is where bug reports and all the bug reports, some dude cataloged like 8,900 bug reports in 2 months. Absolutely, this is what they need to see, which I'm glad it's there. And finally, the last meaty, this is where I don't like, this is what I don't enjoy. When you first load in onto the PTR, to actually play the pre-patch event, because this is an event, this has happened all over the entire planet, major cities and major towns, random, a lot of PvP arenas. If you go there, you're going to get 3-shot. Just 3 hits, you're done. And you become essentially a ghoul from Wrath of the Lich King, where all this, in quote, will take off. If you haven't seen the cinematic, essentially reality gets broken from a throne there, the Frozen Throne. And you have to go deal with that. But ghouls from there, you'll get 3-shot and you'll become one. Sure, it was fun for about 20-30 minutes. Like, I enjoy it. I love running up to people that I actually know and just beating the shit out of them, turning them into one, them yelling at me, and then we go beating other people up. Sure, it's fun. There is an out, so, you can go experience Shadowlands itself, find more bugs, but that process is the biggest pain in the ass. You have to go find a quiet area where there's nobody around. You're gonna have to go through a fucking 2-minute cast to go back to being a human, or whatever race you're in. Those 2 minutes, somebody can find you. If they see you doing that, they're just gonna camp your ass, wait for you, 3-shot you, and congrats, you have to do it again. And after all that BS, you finally become it. you have to get out of the city. Like, let's take Orgrimmar, for example, the Horde capital. That place is a fucking twist and turn of hell and caves, and it ain't fun anymore. Like, goddamn. And then after all that, you have one quest line. That's it. That's why people are hating on it a little too much currently. You have one quest line, which takes roughly the 2 hours. You just go different places where you've been in the past to... Should I say the spoiler on what it is? Should I? Shouldn't I?
No spoiler cast.
No spoiler cast.
Spoiler. All right. I will say you have to talk to an individual that was in close relations to the individual that broke the reality.
And their name rhymes with...
I don't ask.
So do you think that the content, like how much there is available in the pre-patch, is indicative of the expansion in general, or do you think they just released less content this time for pre-patch?
They just released less content. They're too focused on the level squish and the number, the level squish and the balancing from 120 to 50. To that's what I believe, and that's why I'm kind of like a little okay with what they did. I just wish they would have put a little bit more than other than a 30-minute fucking event and then dealing with said individual. Like, that was it. I'm like, I planned, to stream all this bullshit, and now it's just do I go back and play Shadowlands? I don't want to, because I'm not one to actually play through this because I don't want to know. Pre-patch, fine. Who gives a shit? I don't give a shit. But playing like the actual Shadowlands itself, the parts that are on the PTR, I don't want to do because I want to surprise. Like, I want to surprise myself with it. I've been avoiding all the spoilers. I've been very hesitantly reading what people are posting just so I know kind of like what's happening, like the big thing or the Covenants, and picking a side in a 4-way fight, and you get bonuses off that. I read that just so when Shadowlands does come, I know who I'm going to pick already, and I don't have to sit there and deal with it and do a bunch of reading because I'm dyslexic, and that does not work, especially with WoW text because it's microscopic. But yeah, I personally think this BTR push was way too early.
Yeah.
And way too lacking, because the way Blizzard has done it is when pre-patch is PTR, it's a month. After the month is when they will drop all of Shadowlands on the PTR. And then a month after that, here you go. So I'm looking at 3 months, 3 months of an already dumb fucking expansion.
Man.
Yeah.
Maybe they were expecting more shell shock with the squish and they didn't want to overwhelm, but I see what you're saying. That's kind of frustrating because now you're just in a holding pattern.
Yeah. This isn't the first time they've done it. This is the first time they've done a level squish, but the first time they ever did a squish was a number and stat squish.
Squish.
Squish. Squish.
I shall call you Squishy.
I shall call you Squishy and you will be my friend. But yeah, it was a very interesting thing. I want more content. I know it's there with all the Shadowlands on parts of the Shadowlands on the PTR, but I don't want to do it for myself. So I'm just like, well, I got nothing at this point.
Right.
Yeah, it's
was that
Twitter.
Well, yeah. No, you first.
I'm just saying Twitter is a hellfire right now.
When isn't it?
Especially with Blizzard. When isn't it?
No, that's Blizzard Activision. Regular Blizzard, it was a party.
Yeah, that's true.
Was that your only story for this week?
Yeah, because the only thing I was going to bring up was the entire Epic Google Apple thing, but because I got covered. But yeah, there was nothing else really. I mean, besides Halo Infinite getting pushed back a year.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's getting pushed back to 2021. We don't know if it's getting pushed back a year, though.
January 1st, 2021. Here we go.
Yeah. That's basically just like it's getting pushed back, so we don't have to deal with it right now. TBD.
Yeah. They pushed it back because of COVID, which I'm surprised they're now announcing that pushback.
Right.
And instead of, a little bit after, like a day or two after the announcement of it, that would have been more understanding. But they're like, all right, here's the date. We're getting everything ready and everything done. Get ready. Now we're going to push it back to 2021. Good luck.
Yeah,
2021
because of COVID. No, it was totally because of all the complaints from the public about the
looks like shit.
graphics and
specifically QwertyCast.
and the fact that they straight up like just recently recruited another studio to help co-publish it. It's like obviously it was going to get pushed back, but
Yeah, the whole blaming it on COVID thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially considering the fact that as far as all of the industries that have been affected, the gaming industry in general has been almost not affected at all. We've seen almost everything released at the appropriate times. It's been like movies and TV shows and stuff like that. It's definitely conspiracy, QWERTY.
Conspiracy. QWERTY. Put me on that podcast.
QWERTY. We can have multiple podcasts under our domain, so...
Put me on this
what
conspiracy theory
what they
podcast.
don't want you to QWERTY.
Talk QWERTY to me.
Talk QWERTY to me. Oh, I like that.
Just get significant others on.
That'll be my late night podcast.
Yo, let's go. I'll start drinking during that podcast.
Well, we might as well just like, what else? What other kinds of podcasts would you guys do with our name?
Conspiracy QWERTY, I'm okay with. Talk QWERTY to me. When I said it,
that should be a D&D cast.
That's our.
We do have a D&D cast, but it's well, not technically a podcast, but
not yet.
It's big enough. Not yet.
Yeah, we're currently in trials of D&D right now.
Exactly.
And
people didn't know. I was going to mention that at the top of things that we have done since QwertyCast has started. We have this D&D campaign going that Dave and I are in. We have QWERTY Smash.
Andres is really attracted to me. What? In the D&D campaign.
Oh la la.
Blush. I just have that wet anime blush face, like.
Is this the spicy stuff I missed when y'all play D&D?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're both gay characters in our campaign.
We're both gay males, and for some reason, Andres was immediately smitten by me, and my guy was just like, I really want your drink though.
Yeah, I rolled a 20 to see how for attractiveness, so I'm incredibly attracted to you. But then I rolled a 1 for like persuasion or something, so you completely don't notice me.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so it'll be perfect. I'm just gonna be pining after the man who doesn't see me. It's just like high school all over again.
I just have one question. Can I watch?
You can actually.
Yeah, you can, and we actually are gonna obviously need like guests to do NPCs and such. So
I think Kenny's
sign me up for a voice.
Kenny's gonna be one of them, but it doesn't have to be all of them.
No,
I think it's a really cool idea. Have you guys ever seen another podcast, Harmontown?
I've heard.
Yes.
I've watched Harmon Quest.
Yeah, so Harmon Quest was a spin-off because Harmontown would do a D&D power hour at the end of every episode. Their podcast was like 3 hours long. So I like this whole spin-off thing you guys are going with.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to see how this D&D campaign goes because, well, it's in Discord only, so you have to be part of our Discord to pretty much join us. But we have Kyle, our DM, who's also one of our Patreon donors, has this opt-in, opt-out feature for the campaign. So basically, we're going to do these 4 sessions that are 2.5 hours each, and we already passed 2 of them. And we're doing them on Thursdays. And then at the end of the 4th session, the plot itself is going to allow for people to opt in or out of it. And then if you want to start playing with us, you basically just have to create a character that's going to be at level 4, because that's where we're all going to be, level 3 or 4. And then when the next chapter of the campaign starts, we will all be at like a moderately okay level. We'll have a better idea of the world and how to play, because majority of us, except for one person, pretty much has a lot of no experience really with a well-run professional campaign like this, where we source stuff from the books and we have fights and stuff that actually are based off of the D&D Player's Handbook in classic D&D
and
campaigning.
Worth noting, we're mostly following the standard Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master Monster Manual, the 3 original source books, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think by the time that we're through these other sessions, at least because I bought some of the books, I will be well versed enough to run some of the other stuff if needed. And I can actually we're working on linking a bot into the D&D channel to read out spells and stuff and keep track of all that kind of fun stuff.
Right, yeah. I think it's called Aver or Avery or
Avray,
something. Avray.
Avrae.
But it's mostly its bread and butter is being linked to D&D Beyond. And we would all have to have characters built into that to pull it from the website. So it's interesting. It really is a cool bot. But I think it's not going to work as well because of our DM having a database that he created from scratch with all of our characters.
Which is phenomenal.
It is. Oh my god, I'm so impressed.
So as soon as we have access to that, that'll be super fun.
Yeah.
Really quick, I wanted to
for
do
it.
something that I didn't do in my segment, which was make a correction. Mortal Shell, the game from the last indie saves, was I mentioned that it didn't have a release date posted, but that was on Steam. It said 2021. It actually is coming out in 2 days from this recording, August 18th. So by the time you listen to this, it'll already be out on PS4, Xbox One, and exclusively through the Epic Store on PC. So
Nice.
there you go. If you want to buy it and you're like, man, I can't believe it's not going to come out till 2021. I was excited by that description. You're welcome. Surprise, it's already out.
So yeah, surprise, it's there. It's been waiting for you. What else is up for you guys, though? Joe, Steve?
Good, Joe.
Skip.
Skip. Okay. We love you, Joe.
Steve?
So it's been a couple weeks since I've been in the podcast, and you guys are all aware because I've already stated it, but I'll say it on the podcast because it's very important to me. I got engaged.
Yay! Gary, add applause and wedding bells. There you go.
So no date chosen yet, but definitely working on it and thinking about it, and I'm sure I will let all of you guys know as soon as I know. But yeah, I'm excited. Moving on in life. Next step.
Moving
Hey.
on. Yeah, you leveled up.
I'm done with this.
Leveled
This is
up.
the next character creation screen.
Shedding this
Yeah.
mortal shell.
I would recommend planning your wedding much sooner than you think you need to.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Oh yeah. Aren't you also like engaged or something, Dave?
Oh yeah, I'm getting married in October of 2020.
Okay.
But
Reverse wedding bells.
yeah, we kind of put off planning because we were going to do it in 2021. Now, due to COVID situations, we decided that it's much smarter to do it sooner for a variety of reasons. One of them being monetarily, like you wouldn't believe the kind of things that you just don't think about that cost money, that cost less money when you have this piece of paper that's like, yeah, no, look, we're married, we're together.
Yeah.
Like my insurance costs, for example, for my car would have.
Yeah.
That's
wow.
crazy.
And it's like, why is that a thing? Like, we're married, and so all of a sudden you're like, oh, congratulations on not being a fucking forever alone loser.
Hey, it sounds like
Probably just
me.
gonna crash his car.
Me.
Right. And then,
40 life hacks. Get married.
yeah.
Yeah, wait. Which one of you wants to have their wedding live streamed on the Discord?
Not me.
Not me.
Fuck it.
Well,
Yeah, I
Sign me
don't know.
up.
I think I might skip on that one.
alright, so
And because we're talking about relationships from last episode to this episode, I am a single boy now. It's very interesting.
Ladies, hit him up.
Twitter.
Twitter
Gentlemen.
at Rolenth, ROLENTH. Yeah, gentlemen too. I mean, I swing both ways. I don't give a shit.
exactly.
Well, there you go. Gentlemen as well.
Yeah, ladies,
Whatever
gentlemen.
you identify as. Joe
Exactly.
is
Attack helicopter, toaster, M1A1 Abrams battle tank.
Gamers.
Gamers.
Yeah.
Gamer.
Capital G,
but-
gamers.
For YouTube,
Only
because y'all are
capital G.
getting married and everything, I made the decision actually a few days ago that I want to get myself ordained.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
There you
It's
go. So you can
so
just
easy.
Cast wedding.
It's
Cast,
so
wedding.
easy. It is
Yeah.
free, in fact, for
Yeah.
some sites. And I learned that because my roommate who has been featured. He's actually also in the D&D campaign, and he's been on one or two streams here and there. He's marrying my fiance and I. So
Hey.
Oh, that's really cool.
So cute.
yeah. Well, we need to
really
keep it
awesome, though.
small and intimate and cheap.
Yeah.
And that's the cheapest way to go. Just get your friend to do it.
I'm trying to
hope-
get
yeah.
I'm trying to get ordained fast enough so I can do it for my sister.
Hmm.
So they were going to get
That's very
married this
cool.
year, and because of COVID, fucked everything. They were going to get married in April, and
Hmm.
they were going to have an out of country wedding in the Bahamas.
Destination
and-
wedding.
Their borders closed,
Oh,
Yeah.
and then they pushed it back to I think this month, either July or August.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit! It's halfway through August.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Oh my God, she's already married.
No, she just graduated college.
By the time this episode airs.
Oh no! And they plan on doing it again either last month or this month, and borders still closed and everything. And so she's dealing with all that. God forbid, she was already stressed enough with schooling and everything, and now she has to deal she has to deal with this now. So I'm like, if I could get that beforehand, I would want to take that relief off of her. Like, you're my fucking sister. I'm not going to charge you money for this shit.
All right.
Yeah, that's so
You
cool.
can get it done in a matter of minutes through Universal Life Church. So
Really?
you're welcome. Yeah,
Support
you
us.
could literally do it while we're recording this right now, and you will have the email. Like, you just answer questions, and then they email you, and then I think
Universal what? Universal Life?
Universal Life Church. Yeah. And then they just email you, and they're like, "You're ordained. You have to pay us $35 for the official document." But like,
Don't give a
Can I
shit.
get a
I'll pay you
PhD from them,
$100
Can you get what?
Can
online.
I get a PhD from them as well?
Gary says sounds like a scam. This is 100% real. You
I
just get ordained.
This is absolutely 100% a real scam.
Trump University.
I do not want your monthly newsletter. Thank you. Get ordained instantly.
Get ordained
really-
instantly.
like
That's what it is.
admin.
You're just ordained. You just are.
That's really admirable reason to do it, though. That's really cool.
Close.
Yeah.
I helped plan my friend's wedding back in February, the whole year before that, and just every moving part to that happening was just, I don't know. Weddings are crazy, and we weren't even trying to be super traditional.
Okay.
Yeah, this one is not super
But if
duper
you Google
traditional
like
either.
best man practices, like typical best man practices, there
Wayne,
are
what do you
so
think?
many stupid. I'm sorry, there's so many stupid traditions
Yeah.
to weddings that are just like.
Well, dude, look
so
at bridesmaids ones, like
I-
maid of honor. Those ones are way worse. The best man mostly is like, oh, I got your rings here. I planned your bachelor party. We bought you some alcohol, and we hired like a stripper. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Or like something dumb and simple, like the bachelor, like the bachelor party and the best man are like the easiest thing of those traditional things. Like, look at all the traditional things that parents are supposed to pay for from either side, and like the husband side just gets off like scot-free almost. It's pretty awesome. No, it's not.
So,
I
I did just a model research on the Universal Life Church. I'm just calling ULC for short. So when I quote,
As of 2019, all but a handful of states allowed those ordained by the ULC to perform marriages. The United States, the organization and ministries formed by people whom it has ordained has also been raised a legal issue. And if I go down to Georgia, where I live, if I scroll up, that'd be great. Holy shit, so many states. Under Georgia law, a marriage may be solemnized by a minister or other person of any religious society or sect authorized by the rule of such society to perform the marriage ceremony. As of 2011, no court or administrative ruling has excluded those obtained as ministers of the ULC.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's free.
Fucking
it's
dab.
fucking free.
dab. I will.
Joe, you definitely just made that.
I will screen share with
That
you.
was some really good legalese if you did make it up.
I want us to like speed it up threefold in the editing so it just sounds like a disclaimer.
Some side effects include.
All your side effects include. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, how about you, Andre? I think you're the only one who hasn't really talked about what's up in your life.
Well, I mean, I consider the D&D definitely a big thing that I'm excited for in my life right now. I guess there isn't too much. I got to spend some time seeing my parents recently, and other than that, it's just pretty much the same old. But I am excited for us to finish season 1 for this podcast,
Yes.
and I love that we're having regular production meetings to talk about logo design and the way that we're gonna polish and move forward with everything. And I don't know, I always just get emotional about it because it just feels like this is such a real thing. And I love how even though we don't have the biggest following, it just feels like everyone always treats this podcast with like a lot of love and professionalism. So there's just something about that I'm just like, I just love being here.
Season 2 is always better.
Exactly, season 2
It's
is
a rule
always
of thumb.
better. We have established the characters. Everyone knows our tropes now, so time
Let's
to
get
play
that story
into it.
arc.
Or get really meta.
Are we getting meta?
Hell yeah.
Meta
In-
as fuck, boy.
Season 2.
So not
but-
next episode. Next episode we're just normal.
Exactly. So, to start to wrap it up, thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 19, and especially thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you to our audio engineers, Gary and Gordon. And if you want to interact with us, join us in Discord, and please subscribe to our Patreon, which is a great way to get exclusive access with us, including Discord benefits, free entries into our future raffles, and exclusive content, and, other stuff that you'll discover as you're in here. If you want to talk to us or support us, find us on Twitch or Twitter at QwertyCast. Join our Discord too, which I already said. And other ways to communicate with us, you can email us, regular old-fashioned email, QwertyCastmail@gmail.com. Is there anything else you guys want to say?
I want to thank our patron Kyle for his generous donation of the webcam I'm currently using.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. It's beautiful to see Dave's face.
Always.
And do you want to send us out, Dave?
Yeah. QwertyCast out.
QwertyCast out.